Hi, I'm Annie Botticelli, and this is the Storyteller Forecast for Aries for July 2016. Check out my website, anniehelpsyou.com. See what's new on my blog. If you would like to learn astrology, either for professional or just personal purposes, check out my Astrology Apprenticeship program enrolling in July. And if you'd like to bust out of the geographical confines of your light work business and have an online presence and work from anywhere, check out my Creating Successful Online Business course, which is also enrolling in July. So what's going on in July? This is a mega time for action, and this is a long-awaited time for everyone, but especially Aries energy, because Mars, which has been retrograde forever, which is your ruling planet, is finally direct. So in July, we are still in the Mars shadow period. It's not quite in its full power till August 21st, but it's direct, and that's this amazing time when you can really start to do things. So Mercury retrograde is not an issue in this month at all. There are an amazing amount of trines this month. Jupiter is blazing forward in full force. Jupiter went direct in May, but Mercury and Mars were still doing their thing. So it's like everybody wasn't on the same page. But now in July, everybody's on the same page. So I'm going to go into more details about why you have to seize this time for action later, because first I want to talk about what's specific for Aries placements this month. Okay, so before we talk about that, I want to differentiate between early, middle, and late degree Aries placements. I take the time to do this because the early degree Aries chart looks very different than the late degree chart, and time frames for energetic pileups and potentials are staggered depending on your placement. It's like if you're waiting online for food, if you're an early degree placement, you're the first people getting the food, and the last people online, like the later degree placements, you can smell the food, you kind of can feel the food coming, there's like a buzz about the food, but you don't have your food yet, okay, because you are not slated to get your food yet. You have to wait. And you have something else, maybe some minstrels entertaining you at the end of the line, and that's what you're dealing with while the other people are eating. So that's what it's like when we have this pileup of planetary energy. There's a focus in a certain field of experience for some of the sign, and then there's another focus still remaining for the other part of the sign, and then things just keep moving. Okay, so early degree placements are the beginning of the sign, like the 20th, 21st of March through the 30th. So March born Aries are early degree placements, and if you're watching for your rising sign, 0 to 9 degrees is the early grouping. Middle degree placements are like March 31st through April 9th, and then 10 through 19 degrees if you're watching for your rising sign. And then the late degree placements are April 10 through the rest of the sign, or the 20 through 29 degree grouping. Okay, so for early and some middle degree placements, you have this major planetary pileup in the house of home and family. Mercury, Venus, the sun, the new moon are all lighting up this house of home and family. And it's a wonderful time. It like makes me think of tea by the fire, you know, where there's a nice comfy couch and a nice throw, and there's maybe all the doors are open, right, because it's summer. Well, I guess my friends down under, it would be winter, so maybe that would even be more cozy. And you have family, and you have people that feel like family, and you're in a home environment, either yours or in a place that feels like home to you. And that is the energy of July. It's just homey. Very comfortable, very emotionally connected, and it just is such a fun thing. So the rest of you have this third house energy. Oh wait, before I get there, remember that if you have a later, middle, or late degree placement, what I'm talking about for the fourth house, it might not be right in the beginning, but it's going to come. Okay, so it's staggered, it won't be long, it is coming. The other thing about the fourth house is that it has to do with real estate. So if you have something, or interior design, or anything surrounded by home, or home expansion, or home improvement, or buying a new home, or beautifying your home, or anything like that, home also can have to do with your ancestry. Also can have to do with looking into your ancestry through genetic testing. I was very, very hot on this last month in June, talking about some aspects with health And this is still very current because Jupiter is doing its thing in your house of health. So getting into genetic testing, I had mine done at 23andMe. It's a basic genetic testing that can tell you what parts of your system work in what ways if you have genetic mutations that cause your body to not do things. Many, many, many empaths. I mean, how many times have you heard someone say, I'm an empath. I can read energy, but I'm so sensitive and I have all these health problems. Bam! You probably have a whole series of genetic mutations. I'm seeing this right and left with people here doing light work, people here doing energy work, people here in medicine, even not in the alternative realms, super sensitive nurses all over the place and doctors. You probably have genetic mutations that literally make your body not process things the way other people do. So when you think, wow, I can't do the things other people can do, I'm just different. This is like now proven through these genetic tests, which I've had, I've known this about myself my whole life. I'm not quite like many people are. I don't process things that way. And now I see this through the genetic testing that it's true. So this test could really light up your whole life. And the fourth house has to do with your ancestry and could be related to digging deep. It also happens to tell you what percentage different, your lineage is from which different areas of the world. And sometimes there are some surprises there. So the energy of tea by the fire is very current. The rest of the middle and late degree placements have this planetary pileup in the third house. And the third house is a house that matches very nicely with Aries energy because the third house is an air house. And Aries is a fire sign, and fire and air blend together very harmoniously. So the third house is all about communication, transportation, mobility, sharing of ideas, learning, gathering information, sharing information, writing, editing, publishing, relatives that are not your parents or kids. Those could be more in the fourth in some other houses. So it's like a very focus on friends, focus on busyness, focus on mobility. I know when I look at my chart and I see a bunch of stuff happening in the third house, I'm like, whoa, I'm crazy busy. I have stuff going on all over the place. I don't even know what's happening. It's like crazier than usual. So you might find that as you have all these planets abuzz through that house that you upgrade your communication devices. You get a new car. And July is a good time to do that. It's the first good time to do that in a long time. So take advantage of that chance to upgrade your communication devices, upgrade your vehicle, or whether it's an upgrade or not, tend to those things in your life is a better way to say it. Okay, so those are some of the shorter term aspects to look at for Aries. One of the longer term transits has to do with Jupiter in the 6th house. I am very hot on Jupiter. You're hearing me talk about Jupiter a lot lately, especially because it is direct, and it was retrograde for so long that it was kind of sleepy. But Jupiter brings opportunities and expansion and luck and benevolence. And when Jupiter is in the 6th house, it's on this mission to improve your daily experience. So if you don't have a job, Jupiter can bring you a job. If you're working too much, Jupiter can give you a better schedule. If you'd like to work less but make the same amount or more, Jupiter is your best friend and wants to help you do that. I think I talked about this in the June report, but if I didn't, I'll mention it again. There's a book that I'm crazy hot on called The 4-Hour Work Week. When I first heard that, I was like, that's ridiculous. There's no way I could ever do that, right? Just thinking about everything that has to happen. But, I'm kind of bold and I have Aries rising, and so I thought, well, that's kind of impossible, so I just should try to go ahead and do that, right? So I got the book and it's just like blowing my mind. And it confirmed things that I have already been thinking about, but it just opens you up to a whole different paradigm. So this is directly related to the 6th house because it has to do with working 20% of the time for 80% of the gain instead of working 80% of the time for 20% of the gain. And how you can restructure your life to do that, to do what you want now instead of putting off what you want into this obscure future that may never come. So Jupiter wants that for you, and Jupiter wants you to have crazy awesome health, crazy vibrant health, better health than you could ever imagine. Sometimes it has to amplify problems before that health can come because it has to put something in your face enough in order for you to take action on it. So this might be a fact-finding mission, a research time for you while Jupiter is gracing this period of, or place in your chart, where you do tests and you look into things and you get with, together with practitioners, you get together a team of people who want better health for you, and Jupiter makes you magnetic to the perfect healthcare practitioners, to the perfect insurance policy, to the perfect resources or exchanges to give you access to the things you need to have crazy vibrant health. For you animal lovers, Jupiter can expand the amount of animals you have or improve your relationship with your animals or other animals. If you have a pet sitting business, wow, awesome transit for you. You could have a nice renaissance period with your animals where maybe you have more time to go do fun things with them. So things involving pets are there. This is also the one of the houses of the discipline of meditation and yoga. So you might find that that is included in your regimen or your health changes. So these are the things that are specific for Aries. And now we have this wonderful grouping of events that make July this awesome time for action. So I want to give you some specifics about that. I call this month Sugar and Spice because the way that the energies of Cancer, which are like smooth and sweet, come together with the energies of Leo, which are spicy, it reminds me of a recipe, a favorite recipe that I put together myself called Sexy Peach Pie. I haven't talked about my Sexy Peach Pie in a while. I think it's been years since I've mentioned this. But the month just feels like that to me because there's honey and the peaches in the pie, and that's like the sweet, sultry Cancer energy. And then I put cayenne pepper in it, enough to notice. And that is the Leo, the spice, and so this is the overriding energy of the month. One of the most important things to know about this month for everyone is that this is a time to act, unless of course your intuition says something otherwise, because you always have to have your intuition supersede what general energies might be. But this is the first month since March that we don't have influence from Mercury retrograde. Mercury's retrograde phase long past, and we don't have that to look at until August 10th when the shadow period starts again. And Mars has gone direct as of June 29th. So we are still in the shadow period of Mars retrograde, which means that Mars, which rules your oomph, your zest, your get up and go, how you use your energy, Mars is still a little sleepy. But it's direct nonetheless. So if you have been waiting since March to launch a bunch of things like I have, July is a wonderful time to do that. It's not as clear in some ways as the last 3 weeks of October, the whole month of November, and just the beginning several days of December, because that next window of time for action is when we don't have any personal planet retrograde influence or in shadow period. And that period of time, October, November, December, like once we're about a week into October, the rest of October, November, and the beginning of December, is the first time in the entire year of 2016 that we don't have influence from a personal planet being retrograde. Personal planets are the ones that are closest to us. So specifically, we talk about Mars and Venus and Mercury because those are the ones that go retrograde. So you have a window of time here to act. And I have 3 reasons why I feel like this is a time to act, unless you're intuitively led to do your launches in the fall, in which case that would be fine too. The first is because we're not having to deal with Mercury retrograde. The second is because Mars is sleepy, but Mars is direct. The third is because there are amazing aspects this month. There are just so many glorious aspects. Many of them are trines. Trines are 120-degree angles, which are considered to be the most favorable in astrology as far as smoothness and easiness and flow. So we've got trines between personal planets, which last like a couple of days. And then we have trines between a personal planet and some outer planets, and those last, more than that, like maybe a week or so. And then we still have a carryover from the big dog trine from last month, the last week in June, where Jupiter and Pluto had their final convergence. They've been dancing in and out of this configuration since fall of 2015. So you still have Jupiter and Pluto, these outer planets. When the outer planets move into any kind of convergence, the effects of that connection last for a longer period of time because these planets take longer to move. So they're kind of just like locked in a configuration. And even though the most powerful time of the energy has passed, it's just recently passed and you're still very much feeling it. So trines on all levels. There's a couple of dicey spots this month, one on July 11th and one on July 16th. Both could possibly be jarring aspects with Uranus. So you kind of expect the unexpected around those times, jolting news, jolting information that comes in. But the predominating energy of the month is really smooth, time for action, time to move forward. Another day to pay attention to, or the days around this day, is July 19th, when we have the full moon at 27 degrees of Capricorn. Full moons bring fullness, completion, fruition. Sometimes something comes in that you've been hoping for, or something wonderful happens so that you're emotional in a happy way. But sometimes the emotions are stressful, or stress or drama. So the energy is focused around Capricorn, and Capricorn rules father figures, authority figures, your work, your career, your life purpose. So there's possibility that a lot of smiles and recognition could come in from this fullness, but there's also the possibility of attention being brought to a work issue, or something that's been pending, that's been stressful. If you have anything with a father figure, with an authority figure, with someone at work, especially an authority figure situation at work, my recommendation is to work out the charge around that situation as much as possible before the full moon. Sometimes full moons bring things that we could not have anticipated, and it's just kind of like, what? Where did that come from? But sometimes it's like the coming to a head of something that's been pending. So if you know that every time you see a certain person at work, there's like a bad energy between you, or that you get irritated or stressed when you see them, you can do energy before the full moon to work it out within yourself. And one of the best tools that I have found to do this, and it works powerfully, I've done this at workshops where people who don't know anything about the book I'm going to recommend did this exercise and they had amazing effects. It's from a book called The Marriage of Spirit by Leslie Temple Thurston with Brad Laughlin. And these are wonderful people, and this book is amazing, amazing spiritual tool. The exercises in section 2 give you this way to work out a problem that's on your mind, where it's like a mental exercise, but then it's also a spiritual exercise. And you'd be surprised at what you can clear on your own without even interacting with someone. So the more you can do that before these points of fullness, the easier possibly they could be. So at the end of the month, we've got a series of nice aspects with the planet Uranus, bringing creativity and genius and surprises that will likely be positive. The ones on the 11th and the 16th are those kind of unwelcome surprises usually. But when that planet is in a positive aspect, usually it's like something comes from the blue that's pretty cool. So something that is going on, that is pending for us to be discussing again, that I'm just going to bring up now, even though it doesn't actually go direct until August, is Saturn in Sagittarius. Saturn moved into Sagittarius and started, and this was last year, or actually at the end of 2014. It's been ongoing, and then it moved forward, and then it moved backwards, back into Scorpio, and so it's been going on. But since March, Saturn has been retrograde. And when it's in retrograde, it's more working on things in the backdrop. But then once it moves forward, which will happen in August, it's time to start bringing those things back into the forefront. So here are the two things I recommend involving Saturn and Sagittarius. The first is to understand that Saturn in Sag wants to help you bring about your big dreams into reality. Saturn is the taskmaster. Sag is the big thinker. They're not in an easy aspect with each other generally, or in a resonance with each other, but they can be very helpful to each other because they provide this important counterbalance. So whatever big dreams, big goals, destiny, something that just seems maybe even unreachable. Like if someone asked you, what is it that you really would like to do if you had all the resources and the wherewithal to do it? Those kind of big dreams. Saturn wants to help you in the time that it's in Sagittarius to create those big dreams. But what Saturn's going to say you have to do is to work hard and to be disciplined and to get efficient with your energy. That's a higher version of the energy of Capricorn. The lower vibration can be just kind of addicted to work and work for the sake of itself. But the higher vibration of Capricorn, which Saturn rules, which is why it's involved here, is that it wants you to work smarter. And this is a theme that I've been talking about for a while, and I'm going to keep talking about it because this is part of our evolution if we choose to accept it, where we work smarter instead of harder. We might also work a little harder, but we wind up working smarter. So if you figure out the dream, get clear about it, then make a timeline about what would have to happen in order for you to get there, and then break it down into measurable steps. So if you want to be a filmmaker, right, you would have to first get a good camera, right? Maybe you need some training. Maybe you'd need to be able to take trips to the places where you want to do filming. Maybe you need to have a screenplay. Maybe you need to, whatever it is. So get the big dream in your mind. Think about the things that you would need for creating that, and then keep breaking those down into what you have to do every day to get to the big dream. And that's what Saturn wants to help you do. So here in July, right before it's about to go direct, be thinking about this so that you can have your plan ready. So these are the general energies of the month for everyone. And if you would like some assistance in using these energies and the ones that are more specific to your chart, which I can't see in the general horoscopes, then check out my website, anniehelpsyou.com. You can see more about my personal coaching. You can also sign up for my free email newsletter and become part of my community and get the write-ups that I talk about with more detailed explanations of the aspects and what planets are involved, etc. And definitely check out, if you're interested in learning astrology and you resonate with how I teach, my Astrology Apprenticeship program will be enrolling in July, and my Creating Successful Online Business program will be enrolling in July. And I have lots of self-development programs on my website as well, and my blog. So go to anniehelpsyou.com, and I hope you have a wonderful month. See you next month. Bye.